All right, so in this video, we're going to add a call to action just like this up here in the header. If you can see my header right now, it's a container that has an image and an ElementsKit nav menu, and we're using the Flex version of Elementor. In order to add a little button up here, we're going to go ahead and drop it in, and then I'm going to show you how useful containers are. So first up, I'm just going to go ahead and grab the buttons element, which is right here. You can always search for it under search widget, but there's the button. I'm going to drag it over here. I know a lot of times with the Flex version of Elementor, it's difficult to drop it in. So we're just going to allow it anywhere I get the little plus, I'm going to go ahead and let go. So it doesn't matter where it lives. Now we know obviously we want it on this side, so I'm going to move it with the navigator and just move it over. Okay, so obviously we need to do some styling. This isn't looking super great, but we'll get there. And I'll show you kind of how to clean this header up. You can see this ElementsKit nav menu is also a little too tall. You can see how much space it's occupying. We're going to have to fix that as well. But the problem with this right now, as you can see, is this is in the center and this button's on the right. So let's kind of take a look at why that's happening. So if I go to header here at the top, which allows me to control basically what's applying to these three items, we can see under edit container on the side here, it says items. You can see that we're using Flex, so we're in the horizontal direction versus the vertical, as you can see, the two differences. And we have a justify content being turned on. So it's saying basically position everything between, like space between, right? Versus everything at the start, everything in the middle, everything at the end. So we do want space between because we want Starbucks on this side, the logo on this far side, and the other elements on this side. So the easiest way to fix this is, so there's actually only two items that this is talking to at this level. Right now there's three: image, ElementsKit nav, and button. So to solve this problem, the easiest way to solve this problem is to come on over here and we're going to add what's called a container. Once containers are added to Elementor, it unlocked so much power. So we're going to go ahead and drop it in here, somehow get it up there. Now you can see there's 4 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4 at this top level. So we're going to move ElementsKit's nav menu and the button inside this container. You can see it's empty. So we're just going to drag over top until it goes in. Drag this one too until it goes in. So now it looks even more broken, but if you actually see what's happening on the container level, if I click on container on the side, you can see this gray box. That's the container. So right now, if I were to collapse this, there's only 2 elements living inside header. That's what we want. Basically, this image will be all the way to the left, and this container will be all the way to the right. Now, in order to fix the container, all I have to do is with it selected, I have to tell it to do some stuff. So here's items. Now I'm going to do, a lot of people will try to do this row reversed. It's not really what we want. It's it's backwards. So instead use this left to right, just like this. And then I'm going to go justify content and change justify content to be end on this one. You can see it moves it all the way over. We're going to make sure we do an align item center. That'll bring everything into the center how we want it. And the same thing actually has to happen on the header. You can see if I look at the header as a whole element, I also have to make sure that align items is set to center. There we go. So you can see it's a left to right, it's a space between, and it has center. So this is a perfect example of why I would use a container inside, technically a container. This would have been called a container. I had just renamed it. You can rename these at any point in time. Just double click and you can rename them. So another thing that's wrong with this, as you can see, is it's too tall. So what's actually happening is this element, if you look at it, if I kind of hover around, you can see what element's the tallest. This element's the tallest. So I need to understand, okay, why this one's too tall. So I'm going to go to Style. And there's the menu height. You can see it doesn't say anything. Sometimes when it doesn't say anything, it doesn't mean it's 0. In this case, it's not 0. It's actually whatever the default is for this widget. So what I need to do is actually set the height. You can see as soon as I start dragging it, you see it makes a drastic difference. So it really doesn't need to be that tall. The only thing this is controlling is if I had a hover where the button actually had a fill, where it would actually fill up, that's where you'd see how this is working. So it's okay to actually have this, fairly small because I'm not doing that. It is going to basically affect the positioning. So like how large each button is when I go ahead and hover. So I don't want it really tight. It'll make it a little harder to use. I do want some around it. It will make it a little easier. So actually we might as well extend this a little bit even more. Let's go ahead and style this button up. It looks terrible. So we're going to click on it. You have to change the text. You can change it right here. So this might be, find store, right? And you can go ahead and use the default styling for buttons, but they're not great. So instead we're going to go to style and we're going to change it in here. So we're going to come over to the color of it. So right now it's this red color. It really doesn't, or this green color, I should say. It really doesn't look great. I'm actually going to make it nice and dark. That looks pretty nice. And of course we can adjust our typography by going up to typography here and trying to match this styling. Now I can go ahead and build all of that. Now it's a little easier though if I just right click on this and copy, that's right on the button, and then right click on my button up here and go paste style, not paste, but paste style. Of course it makes it white, I'll have to flip the colors again, but it gets me all this typography settings that I want. So I can come in here and just flip the colors back again. So we actually want to go ahead and set the color, which is the text color, to white, which it's not doing. Actually, no, that's the text color. This thing's backwards. Right, we want to make it nice and dark. Go up to text color, make it white, and now it's flipped. Always make sure you style the hover, see what the hover looks like. Right now the hover's not doing anything, which is fine, but we want to go ahead and fill it with a color. So we can actually use one of our default colors. We can use our accent color for that. There we go. Now, I probably want to adjust that accent color so it matches this, but you get the idea. We're starting for it to style and look a little better. So just as a recap, we added a container and that allowed everything to live to the right. But we're not done yet. Right now we're in responsive mode. So I've gone down here and I've clicked responsive mode to enable it. And you go back up to the top and go to tablet mode and see what it looks like on the tablet. So you can see on tablet, it's not fitting the entirety of the navigation. Not at this size. If I make it a little wider, yeah, it still doesn't fit. It still doesn't look great, does it? So what I probably want to do is I could do a couple things. First of all, ElementsKit nav menu by default, if I go over to content, you can see the responsive breakpoint right now is set to mobile. By default, it would actually be tablet. So I'd actually have instead the hamburger menu here that I could then click and open up my menu. So I could leave it like that. That actually looks pretty nice. But that's how you change that, what menu you want to see. It's totally dependent on how many nav links you have. If I go right down to mobile, one thing you'll notice is everything stacks on top of each other. The reason why is because default, everything wraps on mobile, it's called. So basically this stuff wraps to the next level, to the next line. To fix that, what I'm going to do in this case, because I actually want it all in line, I'm going to go ahead and edit this, go ahead and select this container, and go down to wrap, and I'm going to go ahead and click no wrap. That's going to force everything to the same line. Now there's no point in having another find store button here, so I'm going to go ahead and hide that. So go up to advanced, click on it, go to advanced, go down to responsive, and go ahead and hide. Now, it won't preview what it looks like just yet. I actually have to click this little arrow here, and it'll showcase what it looks like. That looks way better. So mobile, as you can see, would be a much nicer experience. Perfect. Just review, make sure tablet still looks good. Yep. And make sure desktop looks good. And that's it.